Hey everyone, John here! And recently I came to the realization that PlayStation 3 is by far my favorite era of online Sony games. We're talking LittleBigPlanet 1, 2, and 3. We're talking Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3. We're talking PlayStation Home, and so many more. But if you were to grab a stack of PS3 games like this and say, I want to play Metal Gear Online 2 via Metal Gear Solid 4, out of luck. I want to play Modnation Racers, explore all the created content, all these courses, play online against my friends. You can't do that. However, thanks to a very dedicated group of fans, a big chunk of these games now have their online capabilities back, and they're really easy to access. For a big chunk of them, like Demon's Souls, all you do is change the DNS setting in your networking, which is incredibly easy. No modification, just go into the settings, change it, and that's it. You're now connected online to these games. Other ones need a little bit more, but every single one is incredibly basic. So let's go on this journey of rediscovering PlayStation 3 online games and how to exactly enable them in this selection here. So, let's get the show on the road. We're showcasing 6 different PlayStation 3 games today, and connecting to most of these is incredibly easy and works on unmodded hardware. Not all of them, but most of them do. So let's begin with the very first, and the best being Uncharted. All you've got to do is go to your network settings on your PlayStation 3, go to Custom, and then go all the way along accepting everything until you get to DNS. Make that manual, and the primary address should be 5175222125. The secondary one could be something like 1111 or 8888. That's not so important, but the primary one is. Now there's one more step to achieve here before this fully works. Your PSN ID needs to be whitelisted by the Uncharted Reloaded Discord. This can take a few days to approve, but once it's done, you are in for good. Now, this works both on Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3, but in my opinion, Uncharted 2's multiplayer is vastly better. And Uncharted 3 was the online pass era, if you remember, where some single-player games came with an online code to activate the online. Otherwise, you had to buy the multiplayer. It was kind of a way to crack down on used game sales, and those online pass codes in your box are no longer valid. So that makes connecting Uncharted 3 kind of annoying. But Uncharted 2, really easy, and this game is still one of the best multiplayer games I have ever played in my entire life. It's an awesome mix of like Gears of War and Halo 3. There's even the theater mode from Halo 3, that's how cool this is. And when you talk into your headset, your character's lips flap with your voice, and that's something very few games even do today. But I've missed this so much, you can't even free roam around these maps without the online being intact. But there is one pretty big shortcoming, and that's that matchmaking simply doesn't work. This is strictly a custom games affair. So you can play with your friends, or go to the Uncharted Reloaded Discord and just say to someone, hey, want to play Uncharted 2 or Uncharted 3? And almost immediately people will say, yeah, add my ID, let's get playing. If you missed out on this back in the day, you have to understand, this is the best online game Sony have ever made. It is so fun and addictive, incredibly well designed. And while Uncharted 4 also has multiplayer, it is nowhere near as good as Uncharted 2's. 3's is okay, but 2 is just the peak. And one of the best things about this fan server is they've reverted back to an older patch where the balancing was changed in future patches to a point where people didn't really like a lot of the changes and subtleties they made. So they've reverted back to the best point in time, making Uncharted 2's multiplayer about as good as it can possibly be. I will never understand how they remastered these games on PlayStation 4 but left this stuff out. It's such a huge part of Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3. Yeah, the story is incredible, it's what you come for, but the evergreen gameplay is here in the multiplayer. The maps are so good, the gameplay is so good, and coming back now, it really hasn't aged a day. In fact, there's so few games that play like this anymore. It's just a standard arena shooter, very much in the Halo balance, where you spawn with the same stuff, go and find the power weapons, but it's also got all that Uncharted platforming and climbing and hiding behind cover. It is fantastic. Please go and play it right now. Next up, we've got an even easier one, being Modnation Racers. There's no account whitelisting this time, this is just the DNS. And this one is 4532179933. Again, secondary's not so important. 1111 or 8888. Now, I didn't play a whole lot of Modnation Racers back in the day, so this is more of a new discovery for me. And this game flippin' rocks! It's like Diddy Kong Racing, where your items stack if you just hold on to them, but there's also all these other mechanics where drifting builds up your power meter, and you can use that to either boost or defend yourself. Like, it's mechanically really sound. But it's also got the customization of LittleBigPlanet, where you can create your own avatar, or your own car, or most importantly, your own track. And this DNS server brings back all of that. It's recovered much of the original community content, but there's also a lot of new ones. So roaming around the hub, you're going to see the most celebrated top creations right there and then. But you can also go into the browser and find anything you want. Find costumes, find tracks. And one of the coolest parts is while you can just go and matchmake, you also see ghosts of players just playing at the same time of you around the server, and you can go up to them and challenge them yourself. So look, right here, there's a player, and I approach them, and I simply challenge them to a one-on-one race. And we can play any track that I've downloaded from the community server, or any track that's already in the game. It doesn't really matter, it can be anything I have on my console. And it's going to download to their console, and we can race one-on-one. It's that easy, it's so far ahead of its time. And it's really great to play today. Keeping things on the really easy side, we have Demon Souls. This DNS is 142.93.245.186, secondary 1111 or 8888. This has existed for many years, from even before the remake of Demon Souls, but it's still incredibly important to preserve the features in the original game. Now, I didn't come across a whole lot of other players playing at the same time as me, but that's not really that important. There's a lot more to Demon Souls than the immediate player-to-player action. There's all the notes people leave behind, creating that community bond and sharing secrets. You can see where people died, so you can be careful about where you're approaching. It just makes Demon Souls more fun to play, to have that connected world and shared experiences. And of course, yes, you can invade players, you can help players with summons, and it's of course really easy to do this with friends as well. Personally, I prefer the vibe of this original Demon Souls compared to the remake, so having all this stuff here working as it did all those years ago is fantastic. So those are the first 3 games, and they're really easy to set up regardless of whether your console is modded, but the remaining 3 have a bit more modding going on, but still incredibly easy. Let's start off with one of the largest here, LittleBigPlanet. The very first thing you're going to want to do is go to beacon.lbpunion.com. From there, make an account. Make sure your username is the same as your PSN ID. From there, go to the Authentication tab, and there's a PSN linked account option right there. So that's how you get whitelisted, but how do you get your PS3 to connect, and how do you mod the game to even make this work in the first place? Well, this is all done on a program from your PC called Refresher. This is going to remotely connect to your PlayStation 3 and patch your game. Your PS3 does need to be soft-modded for this to work, as it needs the IP address of the console, and that's got to be open for networking. So once that's done, enter your PlayStation 3's IP address right up here and connect to Refresher. Then simply connect the game you want to patch, being LittleBigPlanet 1, 2, or 3, and in server URL type in beacon.lbpunion.com. And for lobby password, doesn't really matter that much, this is more for connecting to friends, so just put in test1234 for now. And now Refresher's going to go through your PlayStation 3 files and patch LittleBigPlanet 1, 2, or 3, and because it's been whitelisted now from lbpunion.com, it's going to connect to a brand new server, and everything is going to work. You can play with friends online if you want to. You can play custom levels, you can submit custom levels. And just like Modnation Racers, a big chunk of original player-created content is available here too. Now personally, I spent a long time with the first LittleBigPlanet and not so much with 2 and 3, and finding out just how much is possible is crazy. Like, someone created Uno in LittleBigPlanet, and we're talking like polished Uno. All the mechanics work, there's no sign of Sackboy, this is just flat out Uno. I don't know how you make this within LittleBigPlanet 2, but it's crazy that you can. Next up, we have Metal Gear Solid 4. Now this doesn't need your original download or your original disc, so I just have to trust that you own the game. Alright, no lying to me. You've got to go to Save MGO, and you get the option for MGO1, MGO2, and Portable Ops. And the one we want here is MGO2, being Metal Gear Solid 4. If you follow the tutorial they have here, it simply gives you some more files to download and install on your console, and that's going to make an entirely different online SKU for the game, a completely different game separated from the main game. There's no DNS to put in, but you do have to make an account on SaveMGO, and then sign in through the PlayStation 3. And simple as that, you're in. And there are always people playing Metal Gear Solid 4 at all points in the day. For almost every other game in this video, I had to schedule with other people or find a prime time to play, but note that there's always people playing, multiple games going on at once. And revisiting MGS4 is wild. I played this so much back in the day, and I forgot how it feels to fall for those magazine traps. They just keep laying more around you, and every time you get up, you just get distracted by more magazines. It's horrific. But MGS4's mechanics are incredibly good. And in the single player, they do use them, pretty well, but the AI is the AI. So using them around actual players, hiding around in boxes, using your camouflage, using all your secondary abilities and all your guns, it really does make a different dynamic and a very different feeling game. Much like Uncharted 2, this was one of my favorites of the entire PlayStation 3 era. And when this game gets remastered, I'm pretty hesitant to say that it most likely won't include this mode at all. It's probably gonna get scrapped. So why not play it right now? Now, our final game is PlayStation Home. This needs the DNS 64.20.35.146. However, that's not going to cut it, and not all PlayStation 3s even have Home installed anymore. So what you're going to need instead is Home Headquarters downloaded. This is incredibly easy, there's a link in the description. Simply install that, and you are golden. There are still people playing Home some points of the time, but the best part of this server is it's archived pretty much everything. So every single room and variant and special event is playable right now. So you can get nostalgic and rediscover the apartments, or rediscover the plaza, or rediscover just areas you may remember. But there's also all these seasonal events and game-related events. Like there's a really cool one here, which is E3 2010. And you can just go around this virtual Sony booth and see everything they announced that year. There's also this Resident Evil 5 PlayStation Home area where you go around the opening of the game, and you can play this with other people if you want to. There's Resident Evil 5 costumes you can buy and put them on your avatar. There really is a ton you can do. There's Sully's Bar from Uncharted 2. There's all these Konami and Capcom and Bandai Namco special events. And PlayStation Home really was just the metaverse, but years before metaverse was a buzzword. Like we're talking over a decade before companies decided this should be something we should attach onto and invest millions in. Sony were doing this on the PlayStation 3 for free, for all users, where you can just go around and talk to strangers and live a second life in all these wacky game environments. And I really didn't take advantage of this while it was alive. I played it a few times, but it wasn't a huge part of my PlayStation 3 life. And so getting to go through all these archived areas really is awesome. Like, I didn't even know this Resident Evil 5 one existed, and I think it's so rad just to go through the original zone and see this guy just selling shirts. I think that's cool. This was so fun to do and rediscover. PlayStation 3 and 360 were the era where split screens started to waver away a little bit. Like you can't play MGS4 or Uncharted 2 via split screen. Online's the only way. You can't even roam around on the multiplayer maps in Uncharted 2 without being connected. So that whole aspect of the game was lost. And it was my favorite part. Like, Uncharted 2 is a fantastic single-player game, but that multiplayer is peak Sony. It's their version of Halo 3 as far as I'm concerned, and I love it so very dearly. And there's other games which I just didn't get to play that much in their time, like Modnation Racers. I played it a little bit, but I didn't really get to appreciate everything it did, and the amount of customization is truly incredible. No games really do this today. I can't think of other kart races that let you just build your own tracks and race around with people so effortlessly. And yet, it's not being restored in any way officially, or even done again. So the only way to really play Modnation Racers is to change your DNS and play on PlayStation 3. But I highly recommend that you do. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hopefully you try out some of these games because they are terrific and people are playing them all the time. So thank you, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.